Listen, I will not lie to you, I promise.
Okay. Damn it. Hold on a second. Some IT problems right now. Come on. Okay, alright, sorry about that. Welcome to the 20th installment of the AVC show. I am none other than the Angry Vegan Cyclist. Or so I call myself. And this week, not way too much going on. I think I lost the links of the articles that I originally wanted to talk about, but I made do. I found some replacements in the interim, and I guess we'll just roll with that because that's all we got right now. Yeah. So, alcoholic gaming, still nothing. Yeah. Why should I even bother calling it a sponsorship? Go check out Alcoholic Gaming. I gave him a decent kick in the ass to make some more videos again, and I think he's working on something, but I don't know, whatever. If you're into gaming, if you're into comedy, go check his channel out. Other than that, oh, well, yeah, not much to say. Let's just dive straight in. A lot of these topics we've touched on before, and I hate to become repetitive, but I mean, it's just a recurring theme. And I just feel it's a need to address the themes again and again until perhaps you, my viewers, will understand it to the same level that I do. Or at least have a rough idea of what exactly I'm thinking. As well as good reinforcement for my own beliefs, and every time I look at it, it also forces me to re-examine it. So it's just as much of a learning process for me as it is for you. In the meantime, I hope it entertains you as well. But anyway, what are we waiting for? I guess we'll proceed. So, this article here from Yahoo News, written by Andrew Romano, the West Coast correspondent. I mean, you can tell what kind of people we're dealing with here. Will AI soon be as smart as or smarter than humans? ? Published on Monday, June 12th. So, all right, the 360 shows you diverse perspectives on the day's top stories and debates, which I guess if you read the whole article, yeah, it's somewhat diverse in terms of perspective. And I mean, we all know diversity of thought is much more important than diversity of genetics, but I mean, it is 2023 after all, and there's a cultural race to the bottom about oppression, and yeah, we'll get to that later. Anyway. So, headline, what's happening? At an Air Force Academy commencement address earlier this month, President Biden issued his most direct warning to the date about the power of artificial intelligence, predicting that the technology could, quote, overtake human thinking in the not-so-distant future. It's not going to be easy, Biden said, citing a recent Oval Office meeting with 8 leading scientists in the area of AI. We've got a lot to deal with, he continued. An incredible opportunity, but a lot to deal with. He's probably fucking stammering and gaping and just paused for who knows how long with that little like insertion here. It's just shortened to it's fucking to any civilian who has toyed around with none other than OpenAI's ChatGPT-4 or Microsoft's Bing or Google Bard, the president's stark forecast probably sounded more like science fiction than actual science. Just like a lot of shit that comes out of his mouth. Go on, man. Sure, the latest round of generative AI chatbots are neat, a skeptic might say. They might help you plan a family vacation, rehearse challenging real-life conversations, summarize dense academic papers, and, quote, explain fractional reserve banking at a high school level. In this case, large language models are learning how to chat better, but they can't learn other tasks, or can they? For decades, researchers have theorized about the higher form of machine learning known as artificial general intelligence, or AGI, software that is capable of learning any task or subject. Also called strong AI, AGI is shorthand for a machine that can do whatever a human brain can do. Sure. In March, a group of Microsoft computer scientists published a 155-page research paper claiming that one of their new experimental AI systems were exhibiting sparks of artificial general intelligence. How else has the New York Times recently paraphrased their conclusion to explain the way it kept, quote, coming up with human-like answers and ideas that weren't programmed into it, ? In April, the computer scientist Geoffrey Hinton, a neural network pioneer known as one of the, quote, godfathers of AI, quit his job at Google so he could speak freely about the dangers of AGI, artificial general intelligence. And in May, a group of industry leaders, including Hinton, released a one-sentence statement warning that artificial general intelligence could represent an existential threat to humanity on par with pandemics and nuclear war if we don't ensure that its objectives align with ours. Yeah, right. Okay, yeah, like these two words, just I don't know about you. But when I hear those two words, the first thing I think is the fucking news making a panic out of nothing. We as the West have been threatened with nuclear war with Iran. How did that? What happened there? Nothing. There's been only been one recent pandemic in history that shall not be named because I'm tired of having the fucking channel shut down. How bad was that really? How bad was that? Clearly not. If you're watching my channel, you probably agree with me that it's not shit. So, before I continue on, I mean, never underestimate the amount of money to be made by scaring people, pissing them off, or making them horny in the world of journalism and marketing. Just as a gentle, casual reminder of this glaring reality that we all overlook because it's so obvious. The hardest things to see in life are often the things that are right under our noses. You can kind of feel it, but a lot of people don't want to touch their noses because they think it's gross or because it's socially unacceptable or because they just lack the motor skill. And that's how you miss very important things in life. I'll save that for later. Let me finish reading the article first. So, quote, the idea that stuff can actually get smarter than people. A few people believed that, Hinton told the New York Times, but most people thought it was way off, and I thought it was way off. I thought it was 30 to 50 years or even a longer away. Obviously, I no longer think that. Oh no. Even each of these doomsaying moments has been controversial, of course. More on that in a minute. But together they've amplified one of the tech world's deepest debates. Are machines that can outthink the human brain impossible or inevitable? And could we actually be a lot closer to opening Pandora's box than most people realize? Okay, why there's debate. There are two reasons that concerns about artificial general intelligence have become more plausible and pressing all of a sudden. The first is the unexpected speed of recent AI advances. Quote, look at how it was 5 years ago and how it is now, Hinton told the New York Times. Take the difference and propagate it forwards. That's scary. The second is uncertainty. When CNN asked Stuart Russell, a computer science professor at the University of California, Berkeley, and co-author of Artificial Intelligence, A Modern Approach, to explain the inner workings of today's large language models, he couldn't. Quote, that sounds weird, Russell admitted, because, quote, I can tell you how to make one. But, quote, how they work, we don't know. We don't know if they know things. We don't know if they reason. We don't know if they have their own internal goals that they've learned or what they might be. And that in turn means no one has any real idea where AI goes from here. Many researchers believe that AI will tip over into AGI at some point, but some think artificial general intelligence won't arrive for a long time, and if ever, overhyping it distracts us from more immediate issues like AI-fueled misinformation or job loss. Others suspect that this evolution may already be taking place, and a smaller group fears that it could escalate exponentially. As the New Yorker recently explained, a computer system that can write code, as ChatGPT already can, might eventually...
Nuts.
Oh? I'm glad you did. Did you collect it in a cup?
But sluts go nuts.
Fair enough. Okay, where were we? Yes, thank you, AG. Something that AGI, artificial general intelligence, won't arrive for a long time, and if ever, that overhyping it... Oh, I'm sorry, let me turn on the stream. Yeah. I also suspect that this evolution may already be taking place, and a smaller group fears that it could escalate exponentially, as the New Yorker recently explained, a computer system that can write code, as ChatGPT already can, might eventually learn how to improve itself over and over again until computing technology reaches what's known as the singularity, a point at which it escapes our control. My confidence is that this wasn't coming for quite a while. Has been shaken by the realization that biological intelligence and digital intelligence are very different, and digital intelligence is probably much better, end quote, at certain things. Hinton recently told The Guardian. He then predicted that true artificial general intelligence is about 5 to 20 years away. I've got huge uncertainty at present, Hinton added. Quote, but I wouldn't rule out a year or two, and I still wouldn't rule out 100 years, ellipses. I think people who are confident in this situation are crazy. So my question about this article, so does he say, what I'm grasping from this is that when he says, quote, I think people who are confident in this situation are crazy, end quote, is that Hinton believes that anyone who think, oh, this AI ain't shit, well, we got nothing to worry about, are crazy, thus disagreeing. I'd like to argue the other way. And before we hit the perspectives, I guess I should drop mine real quick. So, general intelligence. So, perhaps I'm not clear on the definition of general intelligence, but I think it goes back again to lateral integration. To integrate different fields of knowledge, different skills. After all, like the human brain, or any animal brain really, is capable of a bunch of different motor functions. The purpose, I think there's this video from this YouTuber known as What I've Learned. He does all kinds of like stupid, like kind of clickbaity shit. Probably to moderately provocative. For clicks mainly. And I'm not sure what he really believes in. But he had this great video about, let me go here, I'll just drop it in we won't watch it right now, but I'll just drop it in the, I'll just give you a look. What I've learned, exercise and the brain. So this video right here, why exercise is so underrated. And there's this, he talks about this fairly solid theory that the reason animals have brains is because they move. Because there's one species of some kind of sea sponge or something that eats its own brain once it settles onto a rock because it just doesn't need it anymore. So, ergo, when you look at this kind of principle, and you can say, oh, humans aren't sea sponges, well, we're made of cells. We're all eukaryotic organisms. So, there's some commonality here at the cellular level. So, when there is no. The purpose of the brain for an animal, well, the purpose, the existence of an animal is the anima, the animation, the movement. And if it doesn't move, then it's a plant. So, you could argue, well, brain equals movement. But AI, unless it's in a robot, doesn't move. So what does it need a brain for? Well, the humans created it. That's why it has a brain. I mean, duh. Right. Now, the point I'm trying to make here is that if the AI just, okay, let's say ChatGPT, for whatever reason, got hijacked by a bunch of trolls that want to fuck with you, and ChatGPT just really hates you, what can it do to you? It's just going to talk. Like, words can be interesting, but if you don't give the words any weight, what the fuck could ChatGPT do to you? I personally be more concerned about, let's say, ChatGPT stealing my intellectual property whenever I talk to it, or stealing my financial information when I give it my financial information for like a Plus subscription plan. But at that point, is that really the AI's fault? Or is it OpenAI, which is a company run by humans? So, whenever you give the intelligence a means of action, let's say you put an AI into like a automated sentry turret, literally straight out of like Fallout 4 or any sci-fi franchise of your choice. When you put a gun on it with armor and it's hard to stop, okay, yeah, that could get out of hand. But we deal with that every day in the industrialized world, for example, working on an oil rig or a factory. There's dangerous shit that happens every day. You could say all the time, though I should probably say that less, but we're already dealing with that threat. So how is this any different? And this goes back again to the human response to fear and pain, and there's a disproportionate amount of attention paid to avoiding fear and pain rather than seeking achievement or a higher pleasure, etc. So, if you restrain this, well, someone's still going to use it. Whether criminals or terrorists or the government, which is the biggest group of criminals and terrorists, if you really think about it. And if you just disable it for yourself because you wanted to regulate it, well, now the government has another thing to harass you with. Do you want that? This goes back once again to the drum I will not stop beating. You can stand in front of the beast and get squashed by it, or you can grab a saddle and ride on it. So, the only question I really see here is not really, can AI be smarter than humans? Machines have already become more intelligent than human brains in certain aspects already for many decades now. And now we've all of a sudden normalized to it. And now that there's something new, and because I watched iRobot, therefore I know what I'm talking about. The AI is going to kill everybody. We need to regulate it, so the government can just kill us with it instead. The only thing I can say to that is just shut the fuck up, really.
But did they watch the part where Will Smith went, "That's hot"?
They probably didn't, though. They probably didn't. They didn't see the hentai where Will Smith started fucking the robots. And they made peace through gay robot human sex.
Well, I guess you could call him a cyborg. He had like a robot arm on him.
Well, right, exactly. That's what you do if you. Okay, let's say worst case scenario, that kind of shit does happen. Well, you better fucking chrome up, Choom. You better get your cyborg gear going, because how else are you gonna fucking survive? So really, it's just like, it's almost like the human species is just begging to not evolve anymore. But at the same time, these same people are probably going to turn around and complain about how bored or how depressed or how unstimulated they are, even though there's more and more options laid before them to grow, to strengthen, to evolve, to become better humans or more than human. So there's still a lot of things that, well, I wouldn't say all humans. I would say yeah. There seems to be the gas that like when we're like in a Fortnite or like a Warzone game, and then the gas is just closing in on us. But there's still room, and you could just like I don't know get a gas mask and still probably not, still have some mobility, but yeah, there's clearly a pressure on people to familiarize themselves with technology because that's their environment, and the environment is changing. And there's always two kinds of organisms that look at a challenging environment. So the first kind will complain and say, "I don't want to evolve. I just want to be the exact same fucking thing I am right now," and then just eat, grow, reproduce, and die. Well, not really grow, just eat, reproduce, and die. And there's the other half that sees the environment and says, okay, I will adapt to this environment. And this is what I must do in order to adapt to the environment and become a more evolutionarily fit organism. It's pretty clear what group succeeds and what tends to fail, and it's kind of your call which one you want to fit into. So, what was I going to say? The other thing is that, okay, we're also still struggling to define intelligence clearly. So you could say, okay, it's IQ. Yeah, okay, you could take someone who scores high on an IQ test and is good at chess, but if this person isn't very good at something like, I don't know, skateboarding, or martial arts, or, I don't know, sucking dick, these are skills. So, intelligence may help you develop a skill faster, but a 200 IQ child probably can't, I don't know, fix a truck quicker than a moderately retarded truck mechanic of 30 years. For obvious reasons. So what's more important at that point? Skill or intelligence? Furthermore, let's say open ChatGPT 4.0, 5.0, 10 can talk some hella mad shit about how to fix a truck. But can it actually do it? Now here's the other aspect of intelligence. So we're not only looking at the intelligence within a brain. We're looking at the intelligence of an entire nervous system, from the brain down to the appendages which manipulate a tool or physical object. So that's why we have, okay, ChatGPT can list you off, it can talk on so many different topics, and it's just such a useful assistant. But it's all text. You as the human still have to do things in reality to achieve what the advice you're getting from ChatGPT will supplement you with, or supplement you towards. So, last I've heard, and maybe I'm really out of date because this is some really old news. I remember Honda was working on a robot. Honda robot walks through door. So, I know Boston Dynamics, they have like that little dog thing, but many a year back, there was Honda came up with a robot. I guess it's called the Asimo, and this is exactly what I was talking about just a minute ago, about how translation from intelligence into like physical motion is still a leap that we're not succeeding with yet. Come on. Okay, so I guess here, I don't know why my fucking internet sucks right now. I'm sorry. So it tried to walk upstairs and just basically fell on its ass, which is hilarious. But, yeah. And God forbid you try to get Asimo to try to like walk up to a door. Like it'll walk up to the door and it'll stick its hand on the door. What I heard on I remember reading on Popular Science. Asimo walked up to the door, stuck out its hand, and then that's kind of as far as they got. They can't coordinate the muscles, or excuse me, the motor function of the Asimo's arm to grab the doorknob, turn the doorknob, open the door, push on the door and walk forward and hold the door so it doesn't like slam into the robot. Like you just take that. Okay, as a human being, you do that so many fucking times. Your many different levels of your body are coordinating, and are computationally active. I will say this, and considering how your nerve cells are a computing system of sorts. Literally, like this is where the term muscle memory comes from. Like, sure, the circuits in your arm aren't as sophisticated as that in your brainstem, which aren't as sophisticated as the white matter in your brain, which aren't as sophisticated as your gray matter. But every single step of this system works together to conduct this seemingly simple motion of grabbing a doorknob, turning it, pushing the door, walking forward, maintaining balance, and then entering a door. Literally. So, this level, as I've said, there are trillions, literally trillions of cells in your body, each performing their own level of computation. Supercomputers are impressive, but why haven't we turned that into some robot that could actually do something like opening a door and walking through it without fucking up? So there's even if we like to, humanity as a whole is also still suffering from the Dunning-Kruger effect. So you think that we understand. Humans think that we understand everything that goes on within our bodies, within these 20 to 50 trillion cells in each of us, in the 7 billion units of human existence on the planet. But there's still so much we don't know. And it's really, it goes on and on and on. The Dunning-Kruger effect. And it's almost like, I guess you could say it's just an expression of human arrogance. To say that we are capable of making something that is more threatening than simply another human being, using the tools available to us within 21st century existence. So, that's my counter argument. That's my crazy confidence as Mr. fucking what's his dick. Fucking forgot his name already. I know, really hot take since I probably don't know as much about AI as this guy, whoever is, not Russell, who is this? Hinton, Mr. Hinton. I'm assuming he has more training on this than I do, but this is just my rudimentary understanding. It's just some asshole on YouTube who frequently interacts with electronics and technology as a somewhat informed consumer. That's just my take. So, now that you've heard my take, let's go look at the other perspectives of other people who responded to this Yahoo.
I mean, I just use my body to make shit. That's about it.
That's a very complex process if you really think about it. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I'm really
Like,
good at it
so
too.
scientists, okay, another thing I roughly recall from several years ago. So scientists have tried to replicate like the process of human digestion to literally like turn like a sandwich or a donut and into like shit. And it took like this, it was like this 15-meter long layout on this giant table with all kinds of like glass tubes and it's like a silicone intestine, just to replicate the digestion process of the human's ability to turn food into shit. And it was, again, it's a few years old, but I'm sure I can find a reference of it for you real quick. Human digestive system replicated in lab. I don't know if I can find it. This is something you'd want to ask ChatGPT about. But you can indeed, if you just create a sequence of like glass tubes and maybe some motorized like peristalsis to move the chunk of food along, you could do so. But I mean, living creatures just do it more efficiently. They're packaged, prepackaged, and have, I guess, they're. You could say that they're AI models that have been trained through probably hundreds of thousands of years compared to like how long we've put into our technology. It's just, yeah. Anyway, okay, let's read the other perspectives on the article. So, Perspective 1. Today's AI just isn't agile enough to approximate human intelligence. Elaboration from Gary Marcus. AI is making progress. Synthetic images look more and more realistic, and speech recognition can often work in noisy environments. But we are still likely decades away from general-purpose human-level AI that can understand true meanings of articles and videos, or deal with unexpected obstacles and interruptions. The field is stuck on precisely the same challenges that academic scientists, including myself, have been pointing out for years, getting AI to be reliable and getting it to cope with unusual circumstances. Yes, living tissue is always more flexible and adaptable than something rigid, like buses etched into a silicon die or computer programs. New chatbots are impressive, but they haven't changed the game. Super intelligent AIs are in our future once developers can generalize a learning algorithm and run it at the speed of a computer. An accomplishment that could be a decade away or a century away will have incredibly powerful artificial general intelligence. It will be able to do everything that a human brain can, but without any practical limits on the size of its memory or the speed at which it operates. Ellipses. An incomplete sentence. Regardless, in brackets, none of the breakthroughs of the past few months have moved us substantially closer to strong AI. Artificial intelligence still doesn't control the physical world and cannot establish its own goals. It cannot establish its own goals. None other than from fucking Bill Gates. From Gates Notes? What the fuck is this? Is this the Bill Gates we're thinking of? Okay, it is, I guess. Oh, whatever. I don't really like that guy. There's nothing that biological brains can do that their digital counterparts won't be able to replicate eventually, right? So the gambler's fallacy. I don't know if this is really fallacy. It is a statement. Okay, eventually. I guess you can call it like the just wait fallacy. So the argument is that, okay, it will, and it will be, and and the only evidence is because, oh, you just wait. That's not a clear supposition for this prospective belief. So this is your prospect, but it's not a prophecy. Like, come on. So, quote, I'm often told that artificial general intelligence and superintelligence won't happen because it's impossible. Colon. Human-level intelligence is something is something mysterious that can only exist in brains. Such carbon chauvinism ignores a core insight from the AI revolution, that intelligence is all about information processing, and it doesn't matter whether the information is processed by carbon atoms in brains or silicon atoms in computers. Well, I mean, just so we're clear, Mr. Techmark, carbon, nitrogen, hydrogen, and oxygen are the four chief elements that consist of the majority of living cells on planet Earth. This is carbon-based life forms, so I get he's writing a bit rhetorically to get his point across. But there's more than carbon going on. Just like how in neurotransmitters, the smallest computational unit within any animal intelligence is more than just electrical signals. There's neurotransmitters, like dopamine, serotonin. I guess serotonin is more of a hormone. Serotonin and cortisol, which are hormones, but also play a role in the function and information passing through a brain. There's oxytocin. There's GABA. There's all kinds of wacky shit. So there's a lot more going on than just ones and zeros, electromagnetic pulses of on or off, like in a computer. So even if you have this incomparable number of processing units or transistors, so to speak, how do you compare these two different systems? It's like comparing a gallon of water to a gallon of, I don't know, ammonia. How is this a comparison? For what purpose? How? Why? So it's just it's just harder to take, and it's just harder and harder to take people seriously when they just have the just wait fallacy, and they drop the just wait fallacy as their only supposition to their argument. So anyway, let me finish reading. AI has been relentlessly overtaking humans on task after task, and I invite carbon chauvinists to stop moving the goalposts and publicly predict which tasks AI will never be able to do. So
So is AI dyslexic? I mean,
sometimes it is. I mean, have you seen like AI art like try to figure out what the fuck a mirror is? Like I don't know if you've ever used like AI art generators, but yeah, sometimes they try to throw in like a mirror, but of course the AI doesn't know what the fuck a mirror is. So it just it puts like one image on one side of the mirror, and then the reflection is like a completely different picture. And then it doesn't. Is it a window? Is it a mirror? It doesn't know. It's just looking at keywords that you give it and just throw up this fucking cacophony of all kinds of bullshit that is associated with the words in your prompt. And people turn around and be like, checkmate, human artist. AI is here to steal your job. This is why, whatever. It's the Dunning-Kruger effect once again. So, again, what sets apart human intelligence is people are mistaking intelligence for proficiency, competence, capacity, potential. Those last four words, whatever concept you may call it, is a function of not only processing capacity but also existing information. So I personally believe that we need to I guess my first thing is that only a minority of humans have enough. Honestly, I mean, maybe I'm in a privileged position with my so-called high IQ, but I can already see, there's a lot of useless people who cannot compete with AI. They can hold less interesting conversations. They're not as informed. They're definitely not as quick than fucking ChatGPT. Some people have less creative capacity than, I don't know, some like fucking Midjourney or a Stable Diffusion to come up with artwork. But the minority of skilled people, they still can't be beat because even they don't understand how things in their brain come together. And once we figure out that, sure, there's still some aspects where AI can replace it, but if you've actually spent a decent amount of time talking to an AI chatbot, a lot of the times that the chatbot, as well as a trained human expert in the topic you're talking about, a lot of things are just subjective, or are not a function of we don't have the intelligence to figure it out, we just don't have the information to understand it. So how do you reconcile those things? You ask AI, okay, what is the right thing to do? It's not going to fucking tell you anything other than what its programmers told you, which at that point it's just humans, other humans, fucking soapboxing to you about what is the right thing to do. So where does this conversation even go at that point? What is the problem? What is the solution? Most people just kind of go back to, you just wait fallacy, which is just fear-mongering, which is kind of retarded in my opinion. So you get people to be scared about AI and then do what? Again, it just leads back to government regulation so that a small number of people, whether the government or not, will have it and then use it against you. And then you're defenseless because you're wagging your finger at this big scary machine that is just history repeating itself at that point. Ludditism will always fucking be there because people don't understand what the fuck they're looking at. Which at that point, honestly, they should be replaced by AI. And even then, there's still going to be hang-ups. There's still going to be fuck-ups that happen. But fucking whatever. Anyway, that was a bit kind of scatterbrained, but all right. Let's read some more. Really, this kind of like antagonistic or like this rhetoric here, carbon chauvinists. I mean, fucking, jeez, making a political issue. Very, very scientific, obviously. What a pity. Anyway, so the biggest and most dangerous turning point will come if and when. Okay, first thing is if, and then when artificial general intelligence starts to rewrite its own code. Quote, once AI can improve itself, which may be not more than a few years away and could in fact already be here now, we have no way of knowing what the AI will do or how we can control it. This is because superintelligent AI, which by definition can surpass humans in a broad range of activities, will, and this is what
Can your brain rewrite its own DNA?
Well, it doesn't have DNA. It has code, which could be DNA of sorts. Well, if you think about it, yeah, DNA is just biological code. Both technology and DNA age because of biological life forms, they age because the DNA gets shortened as the telomeres wear out. Because every time the DNA is replicated, it needs to be yanked out, uncoiled from a chromosome, and the telomeres are broken off so that the ribosomes can scan the RNA, which is just like a split of the helix, and then duplicate, and then to put the end caps back on and coil it back on. That's just like there's a slight loss of information, and that's the basis towards aging in humans. Now, technology gets out of date because the human demands of for hardware. Software improves quickly, and then the hardware is no longer able to keep up, so then it becomes obsolete. Or software is unable to keep up with human expectations, and that's where software gets obsolete, and then thus are both updated accordingly in order to ultimately serve humans. Just like AI. AI is also designed to serve humans. So what sets apart AI from a life form is that, the AI lacks an imperative. It lacks the desire to eat, grow, reproduce, and maintain homeostasis, unlike a living creature. Now, if you give it such, then you could say you created a synthetic life form and synthetic sentience. And self-awareness is kind of like the really kind of human concept, and it requires knowledge of science, and as well as requires a nerve system, which I have yet to personally see in a AI system, because we're just talking about AI. It's just intelligence, but intelligence is just a function of a brain of sorts. So if it's just a brain in a computer that talks or interacts with us through, I don't know, a video game or some shit. My VPN is not on. What the fuck is this? Oh well, show must go on. Okay, now I think we're back online. Okay, so when AGI starts to rewrite its own code, so the only danger I see going on, political, economic,
Skynet.
yes, to put it in charge of like nukes or whatever. Now, if you ban it, if you say we need to stop AI, well, we should. Oh, the most fucking dangerous sentence in the 21st century. We should do something to prevent AI coming out of control. Well, the government will always have it, and who knows what the fuck they're doing behind doors in Black Ops. So they're the ones that are usually in control of the most dangerous things like nuclear weapons, and regardless of whether or not it's legal or illegal for average humans to, the citizenry of any given country to use, how's that going to stop them? So, yeah. What I once again stick to my ever standing hypothesis is that nothing's really changed throughout history. We're just upping the ante. Things are happening a bit faster, but the rules of human behavior still stand the same. And other than nukes, what the fuck are you worried about? Why are you afraid? Oh, because you're a fucking retarded animal. That's why. And that's why AI is going to replace you, and then I'm not going to personally miss you. No offense. Okay, actually, it would be much harder for artificial general intelligence to trigger the singularity than doomers think. Hold on, I don't think did I finish reading this last paragraph? Okay, here, let me finish. Oh, hold on. Something's going wrong in my algorithm. Be right back.
So without Google...
Hold on.
Okay.
All right, sorry about that. What's up?
So without Google for ChatGPT to plagiarize, what is it?
They're not plagiarizing Google. Google's just a search engine. So I don't. I'm sure OpenAI is, in spite of being called OpenAI, has a tight lid on their whole design for ChatGPT. But what really makes ChatGPT remarkable is the amount of information it has access to. And again, just like a text prompt on like a image generator AI, it just takes the words from your sentence and then matches it with things that are associated with each other. Basically, this just giant spider web of little connections. Kind of like a human brain. But the quantity is what sets it apart, and this is why people can't really like design their own ChatGPT, because it's not about the like, we already have the processor. And it will also, of course, like the large language model is not like a processor in your computer. It is a federated network of many different pieces of information brought together. So plagiarism is kind of on a spectrum, I guess, just like gender. There's no binary like, okay, you copied me or you didn't copy me. If you look at, like, for example, in the world of storytelling, a story, a novel, or a show, a movie, anime, or whatever, there's elements that are, you could say, are copied from each other, but then that's just called a trope. A trope is a tool for storytelling. So you can have a lot of common tropes, and then it makes it a less remarkable story, or you can have something that breaks apart from it, but then it moves towards the direction of like an abstract story. And if it's too abstract, then people can't really make sense of it because there's no tropes in it. Like a fucking Picasso artwork. But even then, there's some semblance of, like, Picasso's artwork isn't just a bunch of fucking random shapes and colors. Like, even in Picasso's work, like, there's vaguely familiar, like, human figures, which are kind of modifications of tropes. But of course, only Picasso really understood what the fuck any of it meant. So then it's just abstract, and it attracts a very niche audience. A lot of people know what it is, but they're like, what the fuck is this nonsense? So that's what AI is starting to get good at. Abstract nonsense. Because it doesn't know what the fuck it's doing. It's just taking your prompt and then matching a bunch of shit with it. You can't just tell an AI, okay, go make me artwork. So then at that point, the only thing if it has the training to do that, is just it's going to find a bunch of, just say, okay, I'm just going to make you an artwork. You didn't specify what, so I'm just going to literally just take a bunch of art styles that are commonly recognized, which are tropes, genres, styles, and just pull one out of the bin. And like, here you go. You didn't specify, so if you don't like it, well, that's on you. And that's when it's your job to reprompt to say, no, actually, you know what? I wanted this. Or, I kind of like where this is going, but I need you to specify with this element 1, 2, and 3. And then it says, okay, I will look for 1, 2, and 3 and see what's associated with it, and then reproduce the artwork. So at the end of the day, like, AI artwork is still kind of like a synergistic thing between human prompt producer and the AI's response to it. But it cannot do so proactively. The inclination, the ideation to say, I want to see an artwork, is still human thought. So, I mean, like, chicken, egg, or rock is, like, the question here. Which came first? So, yeah. So, okay, but at the end of this paragraph, this is because super intelligent AI, which by definition can surpass humans in a broad range of activities, will, and this is what I worry about the most, be able to run circles around programmers and any other human by manipulating humans to do its will. If you're fucking stupid enough to fall for the AI's bullshit, which a lot of people clearly are. It will also have the capacity to act in the virtual world through its electronic connections and to act in the physical world through robot bodies, if we give it to them. So, this is from Tamlin Hunt, Scientific American. Is this a whole fucking... Oh, it's an opinion piece. So this is all speculative. At the end of the day, the only thing we objectively say is just, well, we don't know. But of course, that's not a satisfying answer for anyone to hear. So then we come up with an assumption, and we assert that's what's going to happen. And the conversation always ends with "we'll see." So this is why it just kind of pisses me off whenever people say, "Well, you shouldn't make assumptions." Well, you're not going to fucking assume that there's a giant pothole or sinkhole in front of your feet when you're walking down a road, right? You have to assume that, okay, the ground is solid, and the next step I take, I won't fall into a fucking 30-meter sinkhole to my death. Because if you don't, you say, I'm not going to make any assumptions about the physical world around me, and then you're not going to move for the rest of your life. And that's how you die anyway. So, we make a lot of assumptions literally every second you breathe as a living human being. So that's the other aspect to, like, I guess maybe that's the counter argument to my own argument of, like, oh, well, people are just abusing the just wait fallacy. Yeah. So, once again, just because someone says, "Oh, you just wait," that's not an evidence to make any assertion whatsoever. It's an assumption. It's an hypothesis. And life is just one experiment after another. But people's cognitive biases, again, just I guess an inherent flaw of human, or a feature if you think about it. People's inherent biases are what make that statement, what causes people to use these statements. And it's also the whole basis towards an interesting conversation. Because if everyone agreed, then it's just like a horde of NPCs. Just, we all agree, that is correct, that is a verified fact, blue check mark. Like, that does get boring pretty fast, and there's not much to learn after you've kind of been introduced to it. But, yeah. The Pandora's box has already been opened, and I don't think that's just not a problem. I think that's great, because humans need to evolve. Otherwise, we're just going to stagnate, and then something else is going to kill us. So, sometimes things within our own bodies, but because we didn't want to evolve, we didn't want to learn and grow, become more powerful, more intelligent, we suffer from it. And it's up to you if you want to. Like, the environment is always changing, whether it's outside of your body or inside it. Inside your own fucking mind. And the less you understand it, then there's competitions at every aspect of existence. Competition within yourself. And if you don't keep up, well, that's when you get left behind. Duh. So, all right, let me see. Is this the last? Oh, there's more paragraphs. Okay. Actually, it would be much harder for artificial intelligence to trigger the singularity than doomers think. Quote, computer hardware and software are the latest cognitive technologies, and they are powerful aids to innovation, but they can't generate a technological explosion by themselves. You need people to do that, and the more the better. Giving better hardware and software to one smart individual is helpful, but the real benefits come from when everyone has them. One current technological explosion is a result of billions of people using those cognitive tools. Could AI programs take the place of those humans so that an explosion occurs in the digital realm faster than it does ours? Possibly, but the strategy is most likely to succeed would be to essentially duplicate all of human civilization in software with 8 billion human equivalent AIs going about their business. And we're a long way off from being able to create a single human equivalent AI, let alone billions of them. By Ted Chiang from the New Yorker. There's a lot of good references in this article. Can't paste them all. Maybe artificial general intelligence is already here if we think more broadly about what general intelligence may mean. Yeah, which goes back to what the fuck I've been saying this entire time. We struggle to even define what the hell intelligence even means. So, these days my viewpoint is that an artificial general intelligence is that it is a kind of intelligence and it is general, but we have to be a little bit less, hysterical about what AGI means. We are getting this tremendous amount of raw intelligence without it necessarily coming to an ego viewpoint, goals, or sense of coherent self. Right, an imperative, which is given to it by a living creature that has imperatives. A lot of people don't have imperatives, and that's why they're depressed, useless pieces of shit. They are filler humans. That, to me, is just fascinating. By Noah Goodman, Associate Professor of Psychology, Computer Science, and Linguistics at Stanford University, to Wired Magazine. Ultimately, we never may agree on what artificial general intelligence is, or when we've even achieved it. Quote, it really is a philosophical question. So in some ways, it's very hard to be in this. It's a very hard time to be in the field because we're a scientific field. It's very unlikely to be a single event where we could just check it off and say, oh, AGI achieved. From Sarah Hooker, a leader of a research lab that focuses on machine learning, to Wired. How many more comments do we have? Yes, that's a valid concern, D-Clan, and that's why you get your own fucking robots. Given it's even a dangerous weapon to begin with. Again, the most dangerous thing to your human existence is another human.
What was this question?
So, well, I finished the article. There's a mix of opinions on here. Some people know what the fuck they're talking about. Some are just scared animals that need to be locked in a cage. There's this comment that says, Declan, perhaps one of the greatest concerns with AI is that this technology will be controlled by an elite group within our society, thus reducing the remainder of society to being little more than serfs. And my first answer is that
they never heard of Jews.
Yeah, exactly. So inequality in human existence will always fucking be there. There's always going to be competition. Whenever there's competition, there's a winner and a loser. And even if without AIs, well, they're just going to use something else to control you. Like money. Or a large number of people who are paid to harass you, also known as military, police, etc. So, what's changed? That's right, nothing. We just moved the ante up. So, yeah.
Any more interesting topics?
Well, okay, well, let's just move on to the next one, I guess. Why more and more doctors are prescribing muscle relaxers in response to the opioid crisis?
Because your stupid ass needs to chill out.
Yeah. So I guess I'll just jump straight into it. Published June 10th, 2023. As the opioid crisis continues in America, more and more doctors are steering away from prescribing opioid medications as a treatment for pain. Since 1999, more than 932,000 people have died from a drug overdose, with annual rates steadily increasing. In 2021, for instance, 106,699 drug-involved overdose deaths were reported in the U.S., up from 91,799 in the year before and 70,630 in 2019. Opioids are involved in about 8 out of 10 overdose deaths per the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. So, to combat the surge, some doctors are choosing to prescribe muscle relaxers in place of opioids because they pose fewer risks and less chance of dependency. Quote, opioids are being scaled back considerably, and muscle relaxers are often recommended as a safer alternative, so long as they are not abused, big asterisk, and are used as prescribed, says Jesse Bracamonte, MD, DO, a family medicine physician in the Mayo Clinic Health System in Phoenix, Arizona. But muscle relaxers may not work as well as other medications and still come with some health risks of their own. What are muscle relaxers? Muscle relaxers, or muscle relaxants, are prescription medications that affect one's muscle function and are used to treat musculoskeletal pain and muscle spasms. Quote, muscle relaxers belong to a rather wide range of medications within the design to provide patients with a relief from muscle spasms or muscle spasticity, explains Trevor Rich, medical doctor, a family medicine physician in the Mayo Clinic Health System in Mondovi, Wisconsin. Indeed, there are two major drug classes of muscle relaxers, antispastic and antispasmodics. Approved medications in antispasmodics groups include chlorzoxazone, chlorzoxazone, cyclobenzaprine, metaxalone, methocarbamol, and ophedrine, ophenadrine. Approved medications in the antispastic groups include baclofen and dantrolene, two muscle relaxers, tizanidine, and diazepam. Have both antispastic and antispasmodic qualities. Some generic medications in each class have multiple brand names, such as, for example, diazepam is the generic name for Valium, registered trademark, for instance. And each generic drug works in different ways with different advantages and disadvantages. What do muscle relaxers do? Muscle relaxers are typically taken orally, quote, to relieve pain, spasm, and stiffness of skeletal muscles by depressing the central nervous system. Okay. So, explains Christopher Garibo, medical doctor, director of pain management at New York University Langone Health. Quote, they work in different parts of the central nervous system by altering neurotransmitters that are responsible for communicating impulses to skeletal muscles, he adds. Muscle relaxers are often prescribed to relieve muscle-related pain symptoms and facilitate better sleep when taken at night. Some muscle relaxants can also be beneficial in certain headache medications or even neurological pain, says Garibo. And their benefits have been well studied. Rich says that they have been, quote, well-designed systematic reviews of these prescriptions dating back to more than 2 decades, and that such research has, quote, provided high-quality evidence illustrating these medications are more effective than placebo for short-term relief of muscle spasms, primarily lower back pain. Still, Bracamonte says the medications don't work for everyone, and some people report only limited relief. Quote, I often prescribe my patients muscle relaxers to use along with other treatment options, including surface remedies, to maximize their combined effectiveness, he says. When should I use a muscle relaxer? Muscle relaxers may be a good option for anyone struggling with muscle-related pain or muscle spasms, but Rich says it's important to note, quote, that all medications have side effects and no medication is risk-free. That's why muscle relaxers must be prescribed by physicians. When, quote, informed and shared decision-making with the patient can occur, and, quote, anticipated benefits, potential adverse effects, and expected response can be ascertained, says Rich. Is ibuprofen a muscle relaxer? Currently, there are no over-the-counter muscle relaxers available in the U.S., but some medications such as NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, and acetaminophen can help treat pain, inflammation, and soreness, but those don't require prescription. What are the downsides of muscle relaxers? Most common side effects being that they are known to cause extreme drowsiness in some people. Right, cortisol. For this reason, physicians will often caution patients to not drive or operate machinery while on therapeutic dosing, says Rich. In some cases, muscle relaxers can also be habit-forming, warns Bracamonte, and they also may cause poor focus, quote, poor focus, dry mouth, and liver enzyme elevation and low blood pressure, says Garibo. Adam Tenford, medical doctor, director of running medicine for Mass General Brigham in Boston, Massachusetts, says that some users have also reported difficulty concentrating, and there is a risk of muscle relaxers negatively interacting with other medications. Quote, muscle relaxers should be used with caution, especially for those already taking medications that act on the central nervous system, advises Tenford, and, quote, you should avoid drinking alcohol while taking them as this can cause excessive sedation. Right, so, okay, in short, muscle relaxers, just like opioids, are downers. They decrease the activity in your central nervous system. And the activity, I guess that leads to excessive sensitivity because the nerve cells your neurons are active and thus can produce stronger or more, or quicker or more dramatic signals to your brain. So, as it dulls down the pain response, it also dulls down other responses in your brain, and can cause cognitive impairment, sedation, basically turns people lazy. So, depending on the cause of people's pain, I think it just kind of goes back to, except for, like, people who, I guess, are just injured while doing something to, I don't know, perhaps while working or training their bodies. It's still, I guess I've had a couple surgeries where, like, you know, the pain drugs really can help. But the end goal is not to eliminate pain. Pain plays a really increasingly important role now if you really think about ecology, your mind, what you subjectively define as painful or not. Oh God, there goes the stream again. As well as your physiological responses, meaning from your neck down. So when you take that away, it's part of a feedback loop. If you eliminate all pain from your life, that's only sustainable for so long, and people's minds, their bodies, all find new things to be new sources of pain. And I think that this article also fails to recognize. So when it comes to like a lot of chronic illnesses, other than, again, like accidents and injury, an unwillingness to deal with non-injury related pain, whether it's the resistance from mental and physical exertion, like once again going back to exercise, a commonly recurring theme in my discussions. People just they want drugs because it's the easy way out, and in the end they're only fucking themselves. And I guess I guess you can say like the pharmacological and medicinal complex, just like the military industrial complex, they're starting to see that, okay, the opioid crisis is enough of a commonly used slogan to the point where they've got to change in order to keep the money coming in. So that's why there's this trend of prescribing muscle relaxers, because God forbid we try something less invasive like cannabis. Oh, no. For a number of reasons, mainly due to, I guess, less so cultural attitude, but more about money, because money talks and bullshit walks. We need to go back to Big Pharma instead of looking at holistic solutions. And I'm not talking about healing crystals. I'm talking about holistic solutions with a clear secular understanding of how they work.
It sounds like you're talking about healing crystals.
I'd rather have a JO crystal, man. You know, you get one, I get one, we just beat away in sync.
Yeah, they should actually be using DMT to treat their pain relief.
I don't know about that. But I guess you could call that alternative medicine. In some funky way. Oh man. So that's cool. Just stay off the drugs generally. That's all I gotta say.
Stupid to get yourself hurt.
Yeah. How do you say this? So I'm generally pro legalization, in case you guys don't know, but am I on any prescriptions? No. And there's some supplements I take every now and then. You can take a wild guess at what they may be. And I think
L-arginine.
What's that?
The ones that make you come more.
That's an amino acid. That's not a drug. People try to use it like a drug, but really it's just something that the human metabolisms just kind of need and normally get through food. I'd question whether or not that actually allows you to shoot bigger loads, but
supposedly
anyway.
It does.
I don't know the details about that, and I definitely won't look it up because we have a bunch of other topics to look at, but amino acids, they play a bunch of other roles other than tissue synthesis. But are they as dramatic as like a drug that targets a function directly rather than just provide the building materials to it? I'd say no. But I'm not a sexologist or a urologist. I'm just some asshole on YouTube who rides bikes. So maybe I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Anyway, so, quote, American TikTokers who have moved abroad are bonding over the fear that healthcare costs and guns that messed them up before leaving the U.S. So, a bunch of fucking white girls on TikTok. I mean, adjust your expectations, right? Yeah, let's make this a quick topic or short topic. I don't expect.
So they're
much from it.
complaining about the U.S. prices from healthcare?
No, they left. They left the U.S. and they're like, "Oh my God, let's take a moment to reflect about what kind of bullshit we left behind from America that really messed us up." So, subheadlines: U.S.
That
expats are
sounds
bonding.
stupid.
It is. White girls, white women. What do you expect? Do you expect anything less or anything more? U.S. expats are bonding over the shared fears they developed from living in America. Many creators said that after leaving the U.S., they remained fearful of guns and healthcare costs. Their videos have given viewers around the world a glimpse into the challenges of life in the U.S. American expats are sharing the things in the U.S. that made them feel fearful even after leaving the country, courtesy of a TikTok trend. This trend dates back to January 2021, where a creator named Monica Zielinski...
What?
Zielinski posted a video... not Monica Zelensky. I guess Zielinski. Hold on, that sounds way too familiar. That doesn't... Hold up, Weed and Boys.
What?
So she's just some fucking girl on YouTube, an influencer, and not Monica Zelensky?
Monica Lewinsky?
No, Monica Lewinsky. No. I guess I guess maybe that's a Slavic name because it sounds like. Oh my god! I can't believe I fucking got that mixed up for a second. So I was thinking of Volodymyr Zelensky, and then Monica Lewinsky. And then we have Monica Zelensky. Fuck me. Whatever. Anyway, she posted a video of herself directing a short question to Americans who are now living abroad. What is one time that you realized America really messed you up? So let's go watch this video. You can't hear it, but yeah. Let me change the stream so you can hear it. There we go. All right.
That Las Vegas shooting when someone opened fire on a bunch of concert goers. And it was very tragic news.
Hold on, let's start at the beginning.
American currently living abroad, what is one time that made you realize that America really messed you up? I'll go first. I live in Warsaw, Poland now, but I always stay in touch with what's happening in the U.S., and I happened to hear about that Las Vegas shooting when someone opened fire on a bunch of concert goers. And it was very tragic news. But that day, I also went to the movies, so I was already in a kind of...
I still haven't watched it yet. I'm trying to freaking open it.
I'll go fucking watch it.
I'm trying.
Try harder.
Okay, there we go.
All right. I'm gonna go grab a snack. I'll get back to you in a few seconds when you're done watching, I guess.
This fucking chick's pathetic. Alright.
If you're an American currently living abroad, what is one time that made you realize that America really messed you up? I'll go first. I live in Warsaw, Poland now, but I always stay in touch with what's happening in the U.S., and I happen to hear about that Las Vegas shooting when someone opened fire on a bunch of concert goers. And it was very tragic news. But that day, I also went to the movies, so I was already in a kind of weird mental state. And when I left the movies, I got on the tram again in Warsaw, and I saw this guy kind of being sketchy and acting weird in the last seat. And I kept eyeing him the whole time, and he had his jacket open, and he was holding something inside. He was hiding it. And I thought, my first American thought was, it's a gun or a knife or some kind of weapon, and I need to move away as soon as possible. So I kept looking at him the whole ride, and then he takes it out, and it was a beer can. He was sipping it and hiding it during the tram ride. That's what happens in Poland. Not guns, not knives. And I started crying and laughing at the same time because that's when I realized, wow, that's messed up.
So, what are your thoughts?
Oh, you still hear me?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just kind of weak and pathetic.
So, like, I don't get why. Okay, you just see some
Why
dude
is it,
just like.
okay, what's the difference between the soda can, the gun, and the knife? Like, what makes the gun and the knife so deadly versus the soda can? You know, if it was a full soda can, you know, he could chuck it at her head really hard, knock her out, and then he could do whatever he wanted to her.
Right in public. So like, okay, so where I can't relate is that okay, if you just see some dude just like fucking like he's like hunched over and he has like this coat and he's just like looking around to see if like anyone's fucking watching him, and then sticking his hand there, like okay, yeah, that's just kind of weird, suspicious.
Yeah, he's probably just.
So I don't see why
pulling
this
one
is
off.
special to like the 21st century. Like that's always a weird behavior regardless of time period. So I guess it goes back to like what I said about AI. Is just history repeats itself, and then nothing is fundamentally changed in human behavior. It's just we've upped the ante. In this case, we think we did. If I'm riding on a bus, I'd be kind of weirded out. Would I like burst out laughing and fucking cry as I find out it's just a beer can? Well, no. So I guess it's just like that's just the relativity of like neurochemical states, and obviously people becoming fucking weak. They don't really know what real struggle or real trauma is anymore, and they're just abusing that word to I don't know, just get a leg up on each other. It's just kind of pathetic, but yeah. I mean, plus women. I mean, just that there is just enough to explain everything. But
Dude could have had a rock underneath his jacket, and he still would have been just as dangerous.
well, I mean, he still could kill one person maybe if he's enough of a if he throws hard and accurately enough. But
I don't think you have to throw it. Throwing is not necessarily what you need to do. You just need to hold him down, hit him over the head on the temple with a rock.
sure, yeah.
That's what
So
we've done for thousands of years. Kill each other with rocks. And then it was sticks with rocks on the end of them. And then it was brass and bronze.
do you mean lead? Or that
You
come
could
later?
use lead. I mean, just lead's just kind of heavy.
I was talking about bullets, but okay. I don't know, this article
Yeah,
sucks.
you could use a lead
Women are
bullet.
dumb. Who gives a shit? Let's move on to the next one.
The only thing Poland has going for it is that they don't let immigrants in.
Right, but then if you want to move to like a based in red pill country, I mean, good luck getting in then. So, anyway, alternate. Why do we use cult to describe normal illiberal politics? Opinion piece. I don't know. This is something I've talked about many times before. I guess I'll just summarize. So, people are using the left, if you will, which is a very amorphous kind of organism if you really think about it. People who don't like you, they like to call you a cult because there's a negative connotation with the word cult. These people are criticizing you for being unimaginative, uninformed, ignorant, unaware of the outside world, to be in an echo chamber, so on and so forth. They're just doing that to belittle you, to discredit you, to get you to shut up, to get other people to laugh at you because that's just human social behavior. Come on now. What else? What else? Anything good in here? I kind of feel like I've already talked about this topic many, many, many times, and it's just I don't want to fill out the show with like filler content. I want to actually have something worth seeing. What do you think?
Just open up Google, see if we can find something different.
I mean, I got a few other ones here. I got 1,
Fuck
2,
'em.
3, 4, 5.
Let's do a random topic.
They want
It'd
me
be cool
just
if Google
open-
had like a random.
Okay, random news article.
Yeah.
I mean, we still have like 5 other topics we can go through.
Read them off.
Alright, so exercise intolerance has nothing to do with your fitness or motivation to work out. How do you know if you have it? Borderline personality disorder linked to the prioritization of immediate reproductive goals in response to early life adversity. Ford's new SUV being compared to a, quote, personal bullet train, and it could give Elon Musk a run for his money. How did we get the ridiculous point where only trans women can be called women? True democracy is incompatible with capitalism. Now you know. Okay, now you know. Whenever people call you a cult, just call them. Just say, "You're a cult," and then he'll say it right back to you, and that's fucking politics for you. So retarded. Do something better with your life. That's all I challenge you to do. Okay, exercise intolerance has nothing to do with your fitness or motivation to work out. How do you know if you have it? So the first thing I'm thinking is that okay, we're once again placating to a lazy bunch of fucking people who do not want to exercise and they want to pat themselves on the back for their laziness. And laziness exists as sort of a self-preservation mechanism. But depending on how you rationalize the inherent laziness, or if you will, the desire for efficiency, really at that point the only difference is about psychology, which affects your behavior, and your behavior is what ultimately affects your body, and it allows you to do more physical work, thus increasing fitness, like aka increasing fitness, to become fit. But in case you didn't know, the world's greatest athletes, they feel pain. Sometimes they're insecure about their lives. You take whatever favorite athlete of yours. If you have none, just take the world's best. Do you really think they're not nervous? Do you not think that they never had a moment in their lives to be like, you know what, maybe I'm not actually hot shit? Everyone feels that way. Literally everybody. Why are you special? So, I mean, but I'm interested in see what kind of PC bullshit awaits us in this article here. But I guess for some background, this is from Well and Good, which I guess is like a fucking a women's health magazine. It just well, yeah. Yeah, go check it out if that's your thing. But if not, I mean, I guess we'll just keep reading. So, okay, quote, we're always told that exercise is a good thing, but as many things said in absolute terms, there are instances in which exercising could actually be harmful, yes, known as overtraining. One such scenario is when someone suffers from exercise intolerance. Oh my god. Oh fuck. I'm sorry. I can't keep a straight face for reading this. It's something that many people have never heard of, I'm sure, but it can affect people suffering from a variety of conditions. What is exercise intolerance? Hallie Zweibel, D.O., director of the Center for Sports Medicine at the New York Institute of Technology, explains that exercise intolerance is the inability to engage in physical activity that would be typical for an individual's age, thus socially relative. Individuals with exercise intolerance cannot build the necessary stamina with exercise, explains Dr. Oh shit, hold on. Explains Dr. Zweibel. In fact, exercising can cause more discomfort. Define stamina? Like I'm guessing physiological adaptations to resist perform physical work associated with exercise, athletic performance. So, okay, fitness, I guess, is what this doctor means. In fact, exercising can cause more discomfort. Well, right, the harder you go, the more painful the experience is. But it's not injurious pain in most cases. Well, make no mistake, exercise intolerance is different from just being out of shape or unmotivated to work out. This is an actual condition that can affect your physiology. When someone has exercise intolerance, their body doesn't respond to working out by growing stronger. Instead, physical activity can make someone feel worse. Dr. Zweibel says this happens because there's less oxygen-rich blood being circulated throughout the body. Oh my god, what the fuck is this? Exercise intolerance means it equals because there's less oxygen-rich blood being circulated throughout the body. You know what also causes a drop in oxygen availability in your blood? Intense exercise. So who the fuck is making this shit up? Why? How is this? How are doctors talking about this? I'm really just kind of blown away, but I really shouldn't be surprised. I mean, never underestimate the power of hurt feelings. A quote: "A person can be motivated to work out, but their body cannot meet the moment," he says. What are the symptoms? This just okay. Before I read more of this fucking crock of bullshit, I mean, a number of things can cause this, like just not eating enough iron, so that your red blood cells have nothing to build with, and then yeah, that causes a huge drop in like oxygen availability in your blood, which is like obviously very important to athletic performance and exercise. So what is this shit? Why is this being written? So, the reason that some people confuse the condition with a lack of fitness is because the symptoms can mimic that of someone who is out of shape. Namely, people will feel winded and fatigued when they're starting exercise. Many also experience muscle cramping and aches. Yes, another common symptom of not eating enough. I just dealt with that a couple weeks ago in a recent bike race. Several weeks ago.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
Gotta get food in, gotta get calories
because
in.
Okay, so electrolytes, they do more than just keep water in your body. Like they're literally like the material that gets slung back and forth by potassium pumps in your muscle cells. Like it's like, what's a good way to put it? It's like the tires on a car. So none of your other metabolic functions mean shit if there's not enough electrolyte to perform the muscle contraction to which you were asking of your body to perform, your muscles to perform. So whenever you dehydrate yourself consistently, through all the litany of ways to dehydrate yourself, specifically by flushing out your electrolytes with either excessive amount of water or some kind of shitty diets that shall not be named, your muscles have nothing to work with. They have no tires to drive on the road. So that's why cramping and spasms happen. So this is why you hydrate and you eat enough to do the work. So how the fuck is this a disease now? Like exercise intolerance, like the fucking. Oh my God. Oh god, here it gets better. What are the most common causes? There are various underlying causes of this condition. Dr. Zweibel says that Two common ones are heart failure and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. It could also be a symptom associated with chronic fatigue syndrome or POTS. What the fuck is this? What? Well, chronic fatigue syndrome, that sounds like a culmination of just really generally shitty lifestyle habits adding up over the years. And POTS, what the fuck is POTS? Postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome is an under-recognized condition that affects the body circulation, often misdiagnosed as chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, myofascial pain syndrome, anxiety disorder, ADHD, irritable bowel syndrome, myositis, etc. So, okay, myositis, so muscle inflammation. Okay. The most common symptom of POTS is chronic fatigue, which can last. Wait, what the fuck is this? Poor quality of sleep can compound fatigue and affect quality of life. Adding self-care, a job, children, and appointments can increase fatigue, or people living with chronic illness. What the fuck is this? Posture, orthostatic, keeping your bones in, I guess, no, ortho, correct, static, means not moving, tachycardia syndrome. So this means having a high heart rate while just sitting in on your ass and doing nothing. Okay, so POTS is a deformity dysautonomia that affects the flow of blood through the body, therefore causing dizziness while standing. Typically, someone has POTS if their heart rate increases by 30 beats per minute or heart rate is greater than 120 beats per minute within 10 minutes of standing up. Okay, so...
Lose weight.
Not just losing weight, so like people who are like, they've been bedridden for a long time and are really skinny can suffer from this too. So it's not just... So it seems like a combination of poor aerobic fitness, meaning, you know, lack of necessary vasculature to oxygenate muscle tissue while moving, and also the loss of coordination between the autonomic nervous system, which governs your heart rate and your vasodilation and vasoconstriction. So, which are both effects of not using your body enough. So sitting in a chair for too long and not exercising literally leads to this. Just how many times do I have to fucking repeat myself? It's just so much of this shit is just all coming from poor lifestyle choices. And such a minority of people actually have some kind of physiological problem that is outside of their control that it would only then be a valid excuse for the majority of health failures. Including cancer to some degree, by the way. So, oh my god. So, long COVID, which we're not going to fucking talk about, but you probably already know my opinion about that fucking crock of shit. I guess it also goes back to immune system. Regular physical training will increase the energy availability throughout your body. And with more energy available for your immune system to use, now you have the energy to fuel your immune system to fight off diseases. Much worse than COVID, I'm sure. And still have energy for your muscles and your brain to use to perform physical and mental work. Okay, let's see if there's anything else I can possibly learn from here. Quote, oxygen-rich blood is needed throughout the body to maintain all bodily functions. Respiratory conditions can negatively impact the blood being oxygenated, he says. Meanwhile, certain cardiac conditions can mean the oxygenated blood does not reach the tissues when it is needed. Once again, our old friend, cardiovascular fitness and aerobic capacity. Cardio used to be trendy, and then people kind of realized that they don't actually care about health. They just want their fucking vanity. So, I mean, yeah, whatever. I don't need to beat that drum, do I? That being said, if you're sick, like, put off the training until you get better. Generally, that's just a rule. So, can you still work out with exercise intolerance? It seems like it may sound like people who have exercise intolerance should avoid working out at all costs. God, oh my fucking god. Oh, this is so stupid. I am sorry, I can't fucking finish these sentences. But Dr. Zweibel says that this is an unnecessary precaution and also counterproductive in most cases. You can and should exercise with one big caveat. Exercise programs need to be tailored to the reason a person has exercise intolerance, he says. There's not a one-size-fits-all approach. That's why it's critical to seek advice from a qualified healthcare professional. Aren't you a fucking qualified healthcare professional? Oh my god, what the fuck kind of retard? I swear to god, people are just making these articles up because they probably get paid. They're paid by... There must be a commission or something. They get paid, like, per article. And then they just come up with, like, the fucking dumbest shit to write ever just to just fill in that quota and get paid. What the fuck? A provider should closely monitor how your body responds to activity and offer targeted levels of physical exertion for you to follow, says Dr. Zweibel. Quote, this has been shown to improve exercise intolerance and to help... Are you fucking kidding? It just gets better. So, okay, so what I think is going on is this Dr. Zweibel guy. He says, here is a made-up disease. You might have it. It's mistaken for something that may kind of suggest that the made-up disease is bullshit, but don't believe that. Just listen to me. So here's what it is. You have the symptoms of low physical fitness. So now, how do you solve this problem? You go to a qualified healthcare professional, let them get paid, and then they'll tell you to just exercise regularly, like a fucking sports coach could for much less money. This is just so fucking... Oh my god, this is beautiful. Oh my... What? Fuck me. Fuck me and my mom. Oh god, this is... Oh man. This is... Okay, there's just so much going on in this article. We're finding so we have to get so creative just to tell people to get off their fucking asses and exercise. So we diagnose them with a disease and then tell them that, okay, well, it is inhibiting your ability to exercise. So how do you fix that? You just exercise regularly. God damn it! Oh, you guys are smart. Oh, I take that back. This article isn't fucking stupid. It's just like quality comedy. It's just so fucking stupid, so perfectly stupid. Only pure intelligence could have come up with it. It's just so stupid. It's brilliant. What the fuck? I'm blown away. Bravo, Miss Amber Sayer. Fuck. Oh, this is good. So here's another sciencey one. So borderline, okay, from SciPost. Borderline personality disorder linked to the prioritization of immediate reproductive goals in response to early life adversity. Ergo, childhood trauma makes people horny adults. I guess. Very, very epigenetic. I see. Okay, let's just dive straight into it. Who wrote this? Story by SciPost. Don't know who wrote it. Wow, there's a lot of comments here. Let's see what the fuck this is about. Sorry, I'm kind of hungry. Okay, Borderline personality disorder has long since been linked to risky sexual behavior and somatic issues. But the reasons underlying why have been under-researched. A study published in JAMA Psychiatry explores factors that contribute to borderline personality disorder, such as early life adversity and reproductive strategies that may help explain these links. Borderline personality disorder is a mental illness that is associated with unstable interpersonal relationships, fear of abandonment, emotional dysregulation, and more. These symptoms can lead to self-destructive behaviors such as substance use, sexual risk-taking, suicide, and self-harm. Understanding the developmental paths of BPD have been a major research interest in recent years in order to aid in prevention. An evolutionary psychological theory posits the idea that individuals with borderline personality disorder may prioritize reproductive goals in the short term over long-term health as a response to early life adversity. The study seeks to test this theory. For their study, Axel Baptista and colleagues utilized cross-sectional data from National Epidemiologic Study on Alcohol and Related Conditions. They utilized data from 30,149 adults in the United States who participated in Wave 2 of this research. Of the entire sample, 892 participants had a diagnosis of borderline personality disorder, while the rest did not. In this study, researchers have examined measures of early life adversity, borderline personality disorder symptomology, and reproduction/maintenance trade-off. They looked at seven different factors that are commonly studied in life history research in order to capture this trade-off. For the reproductive side, they considered the number of children in marriages, the age at which individuals had first had sexual intercourse, and whether they had a history of sexually transmitted diseases. For the somatic maintenance side, they looked at the individual's body mass index, a measure of weight and height, their self-assessment of their physical health and their metabolic health. Sex, age, and race were used as control variables. Results showed that early life adversity, metabolic disorder score, and body mass index were all significantly higher for individuals with borderline personality. Additionally, people with borderline personality disorder had significant, spelling and grammar is right here, more children than those without borderline personality disorder when adjusting for age. So, neuroticism, right. Neuroticism, higher highs and lower lows, more dramatic emotions and response, and more sudden and higher transients, higher and lower transients. Higher high transients and lower low transients. I guess if you know what I'm talking about regarding like graphs and waveforms. But anyway, consistent with previous research, experiencing more early life adversity increased the likelihood of being diagnosed with BPD later in life. The risk was increased by 56.5% for individuals who prioritized short-term reproductive goals over somatic health. Having kids too soon, right. The results were consistent across genders, as if there's more than two, I guess. These results suggest that experiencing early life adversity is associated with increased short-term reproductive priorities, and both factors increase the risk of being diagnosed with BPD in adulthood. The results support the idea that BPD can be seen as a coping strategy where individuals compensate for the challenges posed by adverse conditions by prioritizing immediate reproductive benefits at the expense of long-term health. The researchers said impulsivity and risk-taking in particular can enhance an individual's desirability as a partner. So, I can't think of it right off the top of my head, but I remember it's a commonly observed thing in animal behavior and biology is that in the harsher conditions, the birth rate in sexually reproducing species increases as the average lifespan of the creature and of the species decreases. So when people are diagnosed with BPD, usually as a function of a trauma response or just general environmentally induced stress, then of course people's behavior becomes more volatile because of chronically elevated cortisol, epinephrines and norepinephrines, the cycle of manic versus depressive behavior, which is basically an extension. It's expression of like the law of homeostasis. When people they experience a very elevated stress state for too long, then they become burned out, which is basically a self-correcting mechanism for people to just kind of go back to the high stress state, then low, back and forth again and again and again. That's where that's kind of, I'd say that's very tightly related to the mechanisms governing bipolar disorder, which is often comorbid or related to borderline personality disorder. Borderline personality disorder is also on a spectrum. I believe that, okay, some people, there's a range of neuroticism or dramatic responses to behavior, as opposed to someone who is more tepid or, if you will, jaded to certain stressing stimuli. So, yeah, somewhat interesting. Stressed out BPD people are hornier. Duh. So, okay, we're almost done here. The study took important steps in testing a theory of how BPD is linked to risky sexual behavior and somatic health concerns. Despite this, there are limitations to note. One such limitation is that the proportion of BPD individuals in the sample was low, with less than 3% diagnosed with BPD. Additionally, proximity to reproductive maturity, age of puberty, age of menopause, was not measured, which is important for reproductive decision-making. Together, this work opens up promising avenues for improving the prevention and management of this disorder, the researchers concluded. First, it highlights the importance of taking somatic and reproductive traits into account in clinical management. In practical terms, informing patients with BPD about the consequences of short-term reproductive behaviors can prevent them from falling into many psychosocial pitfalls, such as unwanted parenthood, unstable interpersonal relationships, and sexual trauma. Furthermore, if an investment into immediate reproduction leads to less investment in somatic maintenance and thus to health problems later in life, it is all the more important to seek reducing reproductive impulsivity. These observations underscore the importance of coordinating mental health services with reproductive and general health services. So, this all just seems like a bunch of fucking jargon to just tell people to keep it in their pants and, I don't know, be more thoughtful on whether or not they're ready to have kids. I kind of appreciate how much fucking... How much fucking the autistic level of depth. It's very professional. I'll give it to these guys, which is like a side post. Like, this isn't like a database. It's just scientific journalism, but it's clearly written at a with terminology far above like the typical reader of news. So I guess it's something between journalistic journalism versus scientific journalism. Interesting. But yeah, fuck me, I can't remember what it's called. Let's go ask ChatGPT real quick. Hold on. So, what is the mechanism? No, epigenetic mechanism that goes as follows: the harsher the condition,
Well, it just sounds like we need to get to inventing pull-out spray.
Pull-out spray, like an aerosol can, just go, and then like people like they just know exactly when to pull out. Is that?
Yeah.
No. It's a solid proposal. Let me ask ChatGPT. Okay, the harsher the condition, the greater the birth rate, and the sooner the species matures sexually. or becomes otherwise sexually active.
If you can't feed them, don't breed them.
Yeah. Well, you know, the cruel irony of life is that it's just the opposite. The harsher the condition for the organism, the greater the birth rate, and the sooner the species matures sexually, or otherwise becomes sexually active. So what is this called, ChatGPT? So here's what ChatGPT says. Quote, the statement you mentioned does not describe a specific epigenetic mechanism. Epigenetics refers to the study of heritable changes in gene expression that do not involve alternations to the underlying DNA sequence. These changes can be influenced by various factors, including environmental conditions, but the specific mechanism that you mentioned does not fit the definition of epigenetics. Instead, the statement you provided seems to describe a general ecological phenomenon known as R selection. In ecological theory, R selection and K selection are two contrasting reproductive strategies observed in different species. R-selected species tend to have a higher reproductive rate, early sexual maturity, and short lifespan, where K-selected species typically have a lower reproductive rate, delayed sexual maturity, and longer lifespan. The R selection strategies favored environments with unpredictable or harsh conditions where individual survival is uncertain. In such environments, organisms that reproduce quickly and produce many offspring have a higher chance of propagating their genes and ensuring the survival of the species. This strategy is often associated with opportunistic, fast-growing species that invest relatively little in individual offspring, but produce a large number of offspring. It is important to note that while environmental conditions can influence reproductive strategies, the relationship is not governed by a specific epigenetic mechanism. Rather, it is a broader ecological principle that describes how different species adapt to their environments and allocate resources for reproduction. So, unfortunately, I can't put a name onto this mechanism, but clearly that's what's at play right now. So, whether the environment actually is harsh, or because these lovely humans decide to make they decide that the environment is harsh in their own minds or in reality, that's what causes the R selection pattern, reproductive behavior, which is quick sexual maturity, quick to engage sexually with the other sex, and reproduce early. So, RK selection theory, there's a number of different implications that are going with that dogma, and I challenge you as the viewer to investigate that further on your own schedule. So, anyway, let's hammer out these last three topics. Oh, all right, the cooldown. Interesting journal. Ford's new SUV is being compared to a, quote, personal bullet train, and it could give Elon Musk a run for his money. Interested?
Let's hear about it.
All right. Ford Motor Company is attempting to make more waves in the electric vehicle space. The company's CEO, Jim Farley, and Chief Officer of EVs and Digital Systems, Doug Field, recently tested out some details of the company's newest car, a battery electric SUV with 3 rows of seating, during presentations at Ford Investor Day. Among these details is a 350-mile range with only 100 kilowatt-hour battery pack. Fucking what? That's a much smaller battery size than would normally have been required for an electric Ford SUV of that size, according to CarScoops. To accommodate, Ford is making this SUV lighter with less rolling resistance in the tires. That's fucking... Of all the resistive forces against a moving car, that's like one of the least. Like, what the... Well, I guess it depends on how fast the vehicle's going. So the Ford higher-ups are describing the new SUV, which doesn't yet have a name and is set to be released in 2025, as a, quote, personal bullet train, CarScoops reported. Presumably, this is a reference to the car being fast and also fitting a lot of passengers, 7 seats in total.
Ford fit all the kids that you're having way too young in.
Yeah, because you're all about that R selection, right? So Ford recently announced that it would begin construction on a Michigan factory that would produce lithium iron phosphate batteries, a cheaper and more sustainable alternative to lithium ion batteries. signaling the company's enthusiasm to continue to grow its EV line. Some EV enthusiasts believe that the excitement generated by the new SUV could be bad news for the current market leader Tesla. Quote, "You can't dismiss the threat," wrote one EV enthusiast commenting on the story on Teslarati, a Tesla fan site. Ford is going full energy. They announced the next-gen truck with a capital T, even when Lightning with a capital L is just in its first year. Farley is transparent about how behind he is as he wants to catch up. Tesla has been weak in releasing multiple products. They are, in effect, still building factories across the world. Quote, "This is why Tesla is in a race against time," replied another. Quote, "If they want to be more than a boutique manufacturer, they need to grow and have the product factory infrastructure in place when everyone catches up." And that is the end of the article.
GM's, it's probably already out, but look up the electric Hummer. It's actually a pretty kick-ass fucking Hummer. The ride height is adjustable. It can crab walk. It's got a pretty decent range. It's got a racetrack mode. It's pretty cool.
Now,
and there's different variants of it too.
You know, I've been thinking about it. Honestly, ESG is a mixed bag. So, ESG on one hand, it's ruining entertainment. It's trashing the culture. But at the same time, for people who have creative chops, it's lowering the bar of entry. And now indie studios and individual independent creators, they have a chance. There's no better time than now to try to rise from the ashes. And when it comes to engineering and technology,
making a car.
I'm talking about the world of art, but engineering is somewhat an artistic effort if you really think about it. So when it comes to cars, so the push for electric vehicles. In case anyone here doesn't know this, I'm pretty sure electric vehicles are actually a few years older than internal combustion engine cars. And of course, they just didn't catch on because of, the technology just couldn't keep up. Battery technology was dog shit, and of course, the vehicle just didn't have any range. But purely by coincidence, the recent trend of electric vehicles resurging after many reattempts. I mean, again, I don't know if anyone here has heard me say this before. Electric vehicles, generally, in principle, are much simpler. Their weakest point is definitely the battery. Now, if you make the battery lighter, cheaper, quicker to charge, they could definitely give internal combustion systems a real run for their money, especially with the mechanical simplicity of an electric motor. Now, all the computer bullshit is a different story, but clearly there'll be a demand for, let's say, if you need a cheap electric vehicle. I mean, take a look at RC cars. Electric motor is a lot simpler. So, yeah, I mean, if you're into EVs, if you're into just the latest and greatest technology, I mean, go check out the electric Hummer. Apparently, it can crab walk, which I guess is something that combustion engine vehicles and transmissions just can't do for some reason. Or I guess you could, then you just have to resort to hydraulic systems. Which, I'm not sure how the crab walk works on the electric Hummer. Or the motors just are is there an individual motor for each wheel?
Look up the ad for it, for the electric Hummer. Okay. It can off road, it can rock crawl, it can squat down real low and go fast on a direct strip. It can do it all, baby.
So, there's a lot of ads here.
It's even got cameras underneath it to help you with off-roading. Just the one with the bumper, I think. I don't know.
With LeBron James in it?
No. Fuck LeBron James.
Electric Hummer demo. Fox News has a test drive.
Just pick
Unbox
one.
therapy?
Or just go to YouTube
Alright.
and find it.
Oh, what's this? From My Car TV 88.
Look at it.
Whoa, holy shit. What the
Yeah.
fuck? Okay, that's pretty dope.
Creeping in my J's.
It's fucking shuffling sideways like fucking Michael Jackson. What the fuck? Oh, okay, so it's just that's just four-wheel steer. Oh, wow. That just oh god.
Yeah, it's a game
That's
changer, isn't it?
impressive. How do you how's that even controlled though? Is it just like a joystick on your steering wheel or
In monster trucks, I believe it's just a wheel behind you, and you just turn it. But that's not a monster truck. So, I don't know.
so when you steer the front wheel, and then you're like, let's say in a monster truck, so like you're steering the front wheel and you steer the rear wheel. So how does that?
It has to be some kind of setting.
Hold on. So the second,
Probably like a,
so there's a second
probably
wheel.
like
There's
an
like
electric steering rack for the rear set of wheels.
Oh, so it's just a separate. Oh, it's just another like rack and pinion system. Okay.
If I had to guess, it's probably an off-road setting.
I guess maybe it's like a virtual differential where like it locks like the steering position of the front wheels and matches it with the rear ones, and you could turn it off if you want to start turning like rotating the vehicle rather than just striding. That's fucking wow. That's pretty. that's
Told
tricky.
you it was neat.
I'm glad you showed me. I guess it's not really crab walking because it doesn't move like directly sideways, but of course it's just it's like I don't know, maybe I'm not using the right words, but yeah. Holy shit. That's funny. We're on that stupid shit. Indeed.
All right. Unless you have something else interesting to talk about, I think I'm gonna check out.
All right. I just got 2 more articles. I don't know if you want to. It's up to you. I don't care.
All right, everybody, don't forget to clean your ass.
Always wipe, kiddos. All right. So the Telegraph. How did we get to the ridiculous point where only trans women can be called women? Well, trans women are women. What are you, a transphobic bigot? So okay, here's another lazy conservative take on the issue that isn't actually, and again, not to side with the fucking, not to side with the woke bunch, but it's not. I'm going to give show credit where it's due, and I'm going to discredit where it's not. So, simply stating that okay, well, men and men or women are women again is probably the laziest answer to the issue. So there's a group of people who want to challenge that, and just simply saying "nuh-uh" and then plugging your ears it's just childish. But moral bullshit aside, again, that doesn't bring anyone to a conclusion. That is not resolving any problems. It's just like engaging in a shouting match. So the core, I still think the core issue is that people want to abuse the government resources, first and foremost. And both quote-unquote liberals and quote-unquote conservatives are guilty of this. That's just how things work in the Western world now, especially in America. So Is it really a solution? No, it's a competition. I mean, well, I guess we'll just see who wins. And the majority of people will just go along with whatever is the greater, go along with whoever is. The majority of people, they don't really think. They just want to protect themselves. They see what is the bigger threat, and then they respond accordingly. So, whatever. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Let's just read the article. So, quote: "The question may seem somewhat blunt, but given that it suddenly appears to have become a matter of impassioned debate, I feel it would be remiss to duck it. So let's get straight down to business and confront the matter head on. What exactly, and we need to ask ourselves, is a lesbian? For most people, I suspect, will regard this question as reasonably straightforward and reply: a woman attracted to women. But that definition, it seems, is out of date. The correct answer is as follows: a non-man attracted to non-man." Where the fuck? How come I even heard? I'm really up to date with all the LGBT bullshit, and I haven't heard of this. What the fuck? No. So there's only two genders, men and not men. Wow, this is quickly evolving. Jesus. At least that's what it says in a new LGBTQ glossary published by Johns Hopkins, a leading American university. You may be wondering whether it defines gay men in turn as non-women. Funnily enough, no, a gay man is simply a man attracted to other men. In summary, then, a man is a man, and a woman is a non-man. A curious linguistic development. Personally, I'm not convinced that this new term is likely to catch on with the wider public. For one thing, a non-man sounds like a grumpy French superhero who refuses to come to anyone's rescue. Instead, he just sits around in his cape all day, puffing sullenly on a galois, and shrugging. In any case, it makes me think of all the famous songs that would have to be written. I am every non-man. You make me feel like a natural non-man. Man, I feel like a non-man. Non-boy, you will be a non-man soon. Still not to worry, the chances of a non-man entering widespread usage has already been dealt a crushing blow. This is thanks to a furious social media outcry during which quite a lot of women or non-men have pointed out that the new term was blatantly sexist. J.K. Rowling, for example, and composed an ice-cold parody, non-man, a being definable only by reference to the male. An absence, a vacuum where there's no manness. Meanwhile, Martina Navratilova, herself a non-man attracted to non-men, described it as an erasure of women. Following the uproar, a chastened Johns Hopkins now removed the glossary from its website. How it failed to foresee the row of glossary would cause, I have no idea. No doubt those who compiled it were merely trying to be inclusive. Indeed, the glossary explained that the updated definition of lesbian was designed to include non-binary people. Unfortunately, in their efforts to accommodate the non-binary, they've accidentally contrived to alienate the binary, which is quite a lot more people. The other curious thing about the glossary is that in a separate entry, it uses the term trans woman rather than trans non-man. Logically, this means that trans women are women, but women aren't. Finkel is Einhorn. Einhorn is a man. So, therefore, Finkel is a man. Or is he? So, the only thing I really understand is going on here after reading it is that, so, in order to be inclusive, and because humans always have to one-up themselves, it becomes too cumbersome to list. Okay, calling all I guess non-men, which includes a bunch of different groups that are not male, which I guess is transgender or biologically female, or whatever the fuck in between. They have to compartmentalize these groups as opposed to men to construct this dichotomy, being that I guess cisgender men are the oppressors and all other groups are the oppressed. And but interestingly, depending on how you look at it, it's like the fucking, what is it, like the TV tropes? There's literally a TV trope called TV trope. Men are generic. Females are exclusive. Exclusive, which is... There we go. Men are generic, women are special. This is... this is fucking funny. I'll hand it to them. This is the thing I was thinking of whenever I read that article. Choose your gender. Every man or magical girl. Yeah, this is just such a perfectly timed, graceful fuck up from Johns Hopkins University, because people are. It's just inefficient to list all these groups, calling all women and gender non-conforming individuals, and not limited, including but not limited to transgenders and non-binary people. That's too many syllables. So then you just say non-man, and then like that goes to back. Then the underlying tone, which I gathered from reading that sentence, non-men, is like, okay, well, if you're not a man, then you're not legitimate anymore. Which is ironically a misinterpretation, which is contrary to the intention of writing the sentence. God, this is so fucking fun. This is just, oh my god, fucking quality comedy right here. Why would you complain about it at this point? I mean, no, I'm gonna steal this. Oh jeez. All right, last article. So, Jacobin, true democracy is incompatible with capitalism. Which is a very loaded statement. It can mean all kinds of things. Like, what's really the priority here? True democracy or capitalism? What does capitalism mean? What is democracy? What is true democracy? What is the differences between all these three? So, I guess what the first thing I see going wrong here is that, okay, well, true democracy, well, that's like, I guess it's the not true democracy fallacy. Only a true democracy will eat its porridge with cream, right? If you get my reference. And fucking god, this is such a tired literary device. So, in the past two, okay, in the subheadline, in the past 2 decades, a succession of crises has led to the rise of authoritarian states, acutely showing how capitalism and democracy were never compatible to begin with. So, the French police are lined up with riot shields to face off against the welfare crybabies. Interesting. Okay, whatever. So the article states it's increasingly hard to ignore the fact that democracy around the world is in retreat. On one hand, many of the world's most powerful states, from China to Saudi Arabia, are governed by authoritarian administrations that only seem to be growing in strength. On the other hand, the respect for liberal democratic norms like the right to protest and the independence of the judiciary is on the decline in established governments, and many states that seemed to be on the road to democracy, like Hungary and Turkey, are stuck in a kind of illiberal democratic purgatory. In total, around 72% of the world's population lives under some form of authoritarian rule. According to some experts, researchers at Freedom House claim that around 38% of the world's population live in countries that could be characterized as, quote, not free, which is very, very arbitrary and very subjective. Liberal academic Larry Diamond has termed the retreat of democracy around the world as a, quote, democratic recession. The erosion of democracy has been particularly hard for liberals to conceptualize. After all, things are not supposed to be this way. The fall of the Berlin Wall was meant to finally put an end to any outstanding questions about the compatibility of democracy and capitalism. The latter was inevitably going to expand, bringing with it the rights and freedoms that many in the rich world had come to take for granted. The rest of the world was destined to converge on the model pioneered by the West. Or so fucking American military policy would have liked to see. Liberal theorists and policy makers have come up with a number of arguments to explain the apparent contradiction between the spread of capitalism and the retreat of democracy. Those on the right of the political spectrum locate the problem with foreign, quote, enemies of democracy. For those pioneers in the new Cold War, Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin, though curiously not Mohammed bin Salman or Viktor Orban, are to blame for the brainwashing the democracy-loving peoples of the West with authoritarian propaganda. Centrists tend to claim the real issue is, quote, extremists on both sides, arguing that democratic socialists like Bernie Sanders and Jeremy Corbyn, who have never even come close to achieving state power, shares just as much of the blame for the democratic retreat as the former world leaders on the populist right like Boris Johnson and Donald Trump. Every evaluation of the problem is, of course, entirely individualistic. Many liberals genuinely believe that the greatest challenge to democracy today is a few bad guys corrupting an otherwise well-functioning system. Oh, you fucking naive child. These arguments are, of course, utterly absurd. Support for democracy is not in decline because voters are being brainwashed by enemy propaganda on TikTok. Support for democracy is declining because democracy is simply not working the way we were told it would. Firstly, the combination of capitalism and democracy was supposed to bring prosperity and progress to all nations that adopted them. For a brief time after the fall of the Berlin Wall, when globalization went into overdrive, this seemed like a believable story. The financial crisis brought the collective delusion to an end in the global north. Members of the generation that came of age during the crisis of 2008 have had to adjust to the reality that they are unlikely to be better off than their parents. But even before the financial crisis, the Asian crisis of the late 1990s showed many in the developing world that opening up one's markets to international capital could be a recipe for disaster. Some combination of authoritarianism and market controls seemed like the natural response. Secondly, the progress brought by democracy and capitalism was supposed to give rise to yet more democracy. Checks and balances would put an end to corruption, an educated population would choose the right leaders, and rather than campaigning based on outdated ideologies, those leaders would compete for votes by appealing to the median voter, bringing moderation to previously divided societies. Instead, the corruption is on the rise, ideology is back, and people keep picking the wrong leaders. Perhaps the creation of societies was so stratified that the ruling class could barely comprehend the concerns of ordinary voters was not such a foolproof recipe for democracy after all. Some slightly more thoughtful commentators accept that this astonishingly simplistic reading might not capture the whole story. In a news podcast series for the Financial Times, Martin Wolf seems genuinely concerned about the future of democracy and accepts a small part of the blame for himself and his colleagues. The problem Wolf seems to believe is that neoliberals, in all of their zeal for the end of history, spread free markets too far and too fast. The shock therapy of the 1990s was not coupled with measures to alleviate the social and economic tensions that came with it. The argument is reminiscent of that put forward by progressive political theorist Karl Polanyi, who believed that capitalist free markets spread too quickly for societies to adapt. Those whose lives and ideals were threatened by the emergence of this brave new world, very on the cheek there, or on the nose, would push back against the encroachment of the market society, often supporting authoritarian strongmen to do so. Progressive liberals like Wolf tend to believe that the solution to the problem will come in some form of regulated capitalism. Of course, the commentators are often Keynesians, who advocate a return to the social democratic consensus of the post-war period. But this kind of nostalgia is no healthier than that evinced by Trump fans longing for a return to a world before the spread of, quote, gender ideology. There is, after all, a reason why the Keynesian consensus broke down. As soon as the economic growth slowed, a latent battle between workers and bosses that had been bubbling away below the surface suddenly exploded into the political mainstream. Without excess profits extracted from the rest of the world to keep this conflict under wraps, there was only one choice for the ruling class: all-out war on workers. For this reason, despite this fact that it is blindingly obvious that capitalist democracies require some measures to reduce inequality while tackling climate breakdown, the progressive capitalist vision for the future stands no chance of being implemented. There's only one conclusion left to draw: that capitalism and democracy were never really all that compatible to begin with. So, this article is a lot vaguer than I thought it would be. So, now, I'm going to assume a non-bastardized definition of the words democracy and capitalism. So, democracy means a government by the people and for the people. Capitalism, for the most part, is an economy by the people for the people. It is not government controlled. So if the people want one thing, but at the same time their economically dependent on a capitalist system, and they don't understand how it works, and then they vote for a government that goes against the capitalism that keeps them alive, known as, like, for instance, industrialized agriculture. You could say true democracy is indeed not compatible with capitalism. But really, this article just sounds like a like standing kneels in front of the government saying, please, bigger government, daddy government, please give me all the free subsidies all over my face. Just asking for that big fucking load of free cash. That's pretty anti-capitalistic. So yes, if you define true democracy to be like a power to empowering the proletariat, which is communist as fuck. I mean, yes, duh, they're they're fucking diametrically opposed. The story is written by Grace Blakely. She sounds like some fucking girl right out of college who doesn't understand how the fucking economics works. How the economy works, how money works. Yeah. So I don't know, this article is a waste of time. I'm sorry for wasting your time. But in any case, thank you for wasting your time with me anyways for these 2 hours and 25 minutes of the show. That's all I got for you this week. Yeah, once again, please, if you have anything you want me to talk about, drop it in the Discord server. There should be links in the description. Your contribution is part of the show, indeed. Other than that, I mean, I guess I would just talk to you later. Yeah. Bye!